Rotate it along X. Viewport to 2. Click the right mouse button and choose Shade Smooth. Switch to Edit mode. Add loops with Ctrl plus R as shown. Switch to selecting edges with 2 and select edges as shown. Bevel them with Ctrl plus B. You can add bevel segments by scrolling the mouse wheel up. I added 2 segments. Select edges as shown. Turn on proportional editing with O. Change transform pivot point from median point to individual origins. Scale it with S. Switch to object mode. Add mesh UV sphere. Rotate it along x-axis by 90 degrees with R plus X plus 90. Move it with G plus Y. Scale it with S. Click Ctrl plus I and apply rotation and scale. Switch to Edit mode. Turn on the X-ray mode with Alt plus Z. Switch to selecting vertices with 1 and select vertex shown. Turn off the X-ray mode with Alt plus Z. Turn on proportional editing with O. Move it with G plus Y while scrolling the mouse wheel a bit so area of influence become larger. Select all with A and scale it with S plus X. Change view to back orthographic with Ctrl plus 1 on the numpad. Turn off proportional editing with O. Turn on the X-ray mode with Alt plus Z. Select vertices as shown. Click X and delete vertices. Select vertices as shown again. Click X and delete vertices. Turn off the X-ray mode with Alt plus Z. Switch to object mode. Go to modifiers and modifier generate subdivision subsurface. Click the right mouse button and choose Shade Smooth. Change view to top orthographic with 7 on the numpad. Switch to edit mode. Select all with A, rotate it with R and move it with G. Switch to object mode. Go to modifiers, add modifier, generate mirror. Change view to left orthographic with Ctrl+3 on the numpad. Switch to edit mode. Select all with A and adjust by moving and rotating if necessary. Click Alt+E and extrude along normals. Select all with A and duplicate it with Shift+D. Scale it with S and move it with G+Y. Rotate it a bit with R if necessary. Move it up with G+Z. Select this sphere, body, and adjust it by moving, scaling and rotating if necessary. Change the view to the right orthographic view with numpad 3. Add mesh UV sphere. Move it up with G+Z. Switch to edit mode. Select all with A and scale it with S. Switch to object mode. Click the right mouse button and choose Shade Smooth. Go to modifiers, add modifier, generate subdivision subsurface. Switch to edit mode, select vertex as shown. Turn on proportional editing with O. Change transform pivot point from individual regions to median point. Move it with G+Z while scrolling the mouse wheel a bit so area of influence becomes smaller. Select bottom vertex. Move it with G+Z while scrolling the mouse wheel a bit so area of influence becomes larger. Switch to object mode. Change the view to the right orthographic view with the numpad 3. Switch to edit mode. Select all with A and scale it a bit with S. Turn off proportional editing with O. Move the object with G and scale it with S. Duplicate it with Shift+D. Move it up with G. Duplicate it with Shift+D. Move it up with G. Rotate it a bit with R. Repeat the step as many times as you want until you're satisfied with the length of tentacles. When you come to the last tentacle part, rotate it with R on the other side and scale it with S. Put it back with G. Switch to object mode. Change the view to the right orthographic view with numpad 3. Scale it with S. Move it with G. Rotate it along Z axis with R+Z. Adjust it until it looks good to you. Duplicate it with Shift+D. Rotate it along Z axis with R+Z. Adjust the whole bug until it looks good to you. Add mesh UV sphere. Move it up with G+Z. Change the view to the right orthographic view with numpad 3. Switch to edit mode. Select all with A and scale it up with S+Z. Turn on proportional editing with O. Select the top vertex. Move it with G+Z down while scrolling the mouse wheel a bit so area of influence becomes bigger. Switch to object mode. Click the right mouse button and choose Shade Smooth. Go to modifiers and modifier generate subdivision subsurface. Change the view to the right orthographic view with numpad 3. Move it up with G+Z. Switch to edit mode. Select the bottom vertex. Move it with G+Z down while scrolling the mouse wheel a bit so area of influence becomes bigger. Select all with A and move it up with G+Z. Scale it with S. Switch to object mode. Change the view to the front orthographic view with numpad 1. Rotate it with R, move it with G. Rotate it with R, move it with G again. Switch to edit mode, select all with A. Duplicate it with Shift plus D. Turn off proportional editing with O. Rotate it with R, scale it with S, and move it with G until you are satisfied. Change the view to the front orthographic view with numpad 1. Click right mouse button and choose Shrink Fatten. Fatten it as you like. Duplicate it with Shift plus D. Adjust it as you like. Do it one more time, scale it with S. Rotate it with R. Scale it with S plus X. Switch to Abstract mode. See how it looks. Change the view to the front orthographic view with numpad 1. Switch to Edit mode. Duplicate it with Shift plus D. Move it with G, scale it with S. Rotate it with R, move it with G, and adjust as you like. Do it one more time for the bottom part as well. Adjust until you are satisfied. Position the leg with G where you think is a good place. Rotate it with R as you like. Duplicate it with Shift plus D and adjust as you like. Do it 2 more times. Select all 4 legs and join them with Ctrl plus J. Go to Modifiers, add modifier Generate Mirror. Click Ctrl plus A and apply rotation and location. Click Render if you are satisfied. That is it! Now you know how to model a bug in Blender. If you enjoyed learning Blender with me, consider subscribing. Bye! See you next time!